Oh, cool. We have a question. I'm a bit overwhelmed by the skills tree. Any advice? Most of the YouTube videos say to focus on what you want your career to be, but I don't have that answered yet. Cool. Yeah. You do kind of need to figure that out, but you don't have to stress over it too much. In other words, you shouldn't think about what you're... Okay, here's a better way to phrase it. Don't think about what you want your career to be. This isn't some huge choice that is going to have massive ramifications on your entire EVE playstyle, etc., etc. Career is not the word that I would use. What I would say is pick the thing that you want to try first. The thing that seems the most interesting to you, and just try it. And then, if it turns out to not be interesting or not be fun, then try something different. I have to ask, have you looked at my first thing you should do when you start playing EVE video? And the reason I ask is because there's some advice in there for new players, not for you, right? Not necessarily, well, you could take it obviously, but not necessarily for you. But advice for new players that new players get from a lot of people, not just me. Specifically about finding a focused group to join. So I guess what I'm getting at is I would recommend thinking about focusing on one thing, because if you focus on one thing, you can get really good at it, and if you get really good at it, maybe you can take it into more dangerous areas of space, and that's where you really get to test yourself out. If your corp survives when you move to low sec, right? So let's say you want to do mining in high sec is easy. And that's why you're going to be competing with about 10,000 other people who have the same exact idea as you, is let's do mining in high sec. There's no failure condition. There's absolutely nothing you can do to fail at mining in high sec. There's just no way to be bad at that. But let's, okay, you want to be a mining corp. You want to mine and manufacture. Okay, great. Consider getting started, and then getting started in a place that is really close to low sec. Like, just as an example, you're in high sec but is right on the border to low sec, so that as you grow, you can grow towards low sec. And the reason for doing that, because it's more dangerous and it's going to cut into your profit margins and it's going to cause all these other problems for you. You want those problems. The reason for inviting those problems onto yourself is to make sure that your group is robust and that there's actually something at stake in a failure condition. People play games so that they can overcome obstacles. And in high sec, I know I'm ripping on high sec a lot here, but there are no obstacles in high sec. There just aren't any obstacles in high sec except for literally suicide gankers. And that's not much of an obstacle. So consider all that stuff. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And you should go and do what you had planned. The question was, is there a recommended projectile ammo type for sitting about 100 off a gate in a tornado gate camp? If you have range out to 100 with the short range ammos, which would be EMP, phase, plasma, or fusion, I can recommend those. You just need to select the right one to do the right damage to whatever target's coming through the gate. So if it's, I'll let you figure that out, but basically EMP does EM damage, phase plasma does thermal damage, and fusion does explosive damage. You don't really get a great kinetic option with projectile ammo, but those other three should cover most situations. However, if you need a little more optimal range or a little better tracking, honestly, you should have someone else on the gate, tackling your target, scramming and webbing them so that they're not moving. And then again, those options are great. But if for whatever reason you do need extra tracking or extra range, depleted uranium and titanium sabot are gonna be your go-to. So depleted uranium, titanium sabot, give more range and more tracking basically. But like I said, if you can get away with EMP, phase plasma, or fusion, those are going to deal the highest amount of alpha the quickest. Hey man, I saw Bjorn B recently and he started a new corp to try and blow up the 10,000 Pocos around high sec and replace them with his own. How exactly do Pocos work and how profitable would that be? I'm assuming highly. Yep, sounds good. Thank you. Shadow Cartel is known as the Poco Empire in Losec. Essentially, they own as many Pocos as they can in Losec. And let me just tell you, the income per Poco is extremely low. That's actually going to be the same kind of across the board. You need to own a huge amount of customs offices in order for that venture to be profitable. So it can work, but the amount of work that it takes to destroy all of them and then to defend them once you've placed your own is very high. Pocos work like many other structures in the game. You shoot them. When the shield is gone, they enter a reinforcement cycle, which is set by the group that owns it. So it'll come out within a certain time frame that they've set. So, maybe like 1600 through 2000 or something like that. So you shoot the thing, it goes to reinforcement cycle. That reinforcement cycle will cause it to come out of reinforcement at a certain time of day, usually a day or more later. Then you come back, you shoot it again. Usually that's when the fight happens. The enemy will come to defend it, and you'll be trying to kill it. There'll be a fight. If you kill it, you can place your own, and then you own the Poco for that planet. You set your own reinforcement cycle, you set the taxes, and that's where the money comes from, is the taxes. So the import and export tax on a planet, usually you'll see in high sec is like 10%, maybe 5%, who knows, whatever. But basically, as people acquire minerals, materials on the planet, they'll need to export them through the customs office, and they'll pay a percentage of the value of those items that they're exporting. Sometimes they need to import to create different items on a factory planet, and that's where you'll get double taxes for that. So export, import taxes. If you own enough of them, it can be profitable. You just got to be able to defend. All right, so we're talking about lasers, and actually this is just something that we can apply across the spectrum for all different weapon types and ammos. What you'll see is each different ammo for a weapon has benefits and trade-offs. For example, for lasers, like we're talking about, as you go up the scale in damage, you go down the scale in range, right? And as you go up the scale in range, damage comes down. So like standard is right in the middle here. It's balanced, good range, decent damage. Which side was damage? This was damage, right? High damage, low range, that's multi-frequency. And low damage, high range, you're looking at infrared, I think is the correct one. And then if we're talking about T2 ammo, same concept, conflag, scorch. Yeah. And actually that is a huge reason to get T2 lasers when you can, if you're not alpha, is to use Scorch, because Scorch is an amazing crystal. It does, even for that, like that example we just gave where it's like really low damage for high range, relatively, Scorch is amazingly high damage for the amount of range that you get from it. It is very good.